Hi everyone, my name is Jason Meyer, and along with my advisor, Dr. Kwon, we did research on the effects of descending resistance sets compared to constant resistance sets on the volume completed during a back squat exercise. So a little introduction. Resistance training is used for athletic performance, rehabilitation, and high-risk jobs. Resistance training can elicit physiological responses, including muscular strength, hypertrophy, power, and muscular endurance. Physiological responses may be manipulated by training variables such as exercise choice, exercise order, number of sets in an exercise, repetitions, training intensity, velocity of movement, and length of rest between exercises. And then the manipulation of these training variables can lead to adaptations in biological systems. Some of these biological systems can lead to increases in testosterone, and the NSCA created a testosterone protocol. And the protocol shows that it requires large body movements such as deadlifts and squats, high intensity of 85% to 95% 1RM, moderate to high repetition counts, and college-age adults 18 to 25, with 2 years of resistance training and a short rest period between 30 seconds to 1 minute. So let's talk more about this rest interval. Different repetition ranges lead to muscular adaptations compared to a specified training goal, such as hypertrophy, muscular strength, and muscular endurance. And the NSCA suggests short rest intervals of 30 seconds to 1 minute to increase testosterone. But previous research has shown short rest intervals lead to decreased repetitions per set, which leads to less training volume overall. And even the NSCA suggests up to 5-minute rest for 85% of 1RM. And other research shows that it may even take 8 minutes to fully recover between sets. So people have looked into descending resistance sets, and in the past, people have used drop sets to increase training volume with little to no rest between sets. And with these descending resistance sets, they can keep the rest time consistent. So 15% descending resistance has shown the most training volume increase over a 10 RM back squat, as shown in this graph. So the purpose of this study was to compare 2 different loading protocols of the free weight back squat with 85% 1RM and 30-second rest period between sets to determine the extent of progressive resistance reductions necessary to maintain repetition performance based on the percent 1RM repetition relationship table created by the NSCA. And to approach this problem, we examined the effect of constant resistance sets and descending resistance sets on repetition sustainability and training volume. So there was a total of 4 experimental days where subjects performed a high-intensity free weight back squat exercise, and the study took place over a 2-week period to limit training effects. The squat exercise was chosen because compound exercises produce higher levels of testosterone compared to isolation exercises. So here's the testing protocol over 2 weeks. So the first week, we used a 1RM test and then a constant resistance sets test with 48 to 72 hours between all sessions. And then in week 2, we had 2 groups with a counterbalance design. So group 1 had descending resistance sets first, and then constant resistance sets second. And then group 2 did constant resistance sets first, and then descending resistance sets second. And the participants of the study, there were 17 subjects that were recruited. 2 of those subjects had withdrawn from study, 4 subjects were removed for being outliers, and they were all college-age men 18 to 25 with at least 2 or more years resistance training experience. And the subjects were screened for cardiovascular and musculoskeletal disease, and they had a PARQ. So for the 1RM protocol, subjects performed a warm-up consisting of 10 repetitions at 50% of their predicted 1RM, 5 repetitions at 70% of their 1RM, and 3 repetitions at 80% of their 1RM, and 1 repetition at 90% of their 1RM. And then each subject had a maximum of 5 1RM attempts for the free weight back squat exercise with a 2 to 4 minute rest between each attempt. And for constant resistance sets, the subjects performed 4 sets of 85% 1RM to failure with 30-second rest between sets. And the repetitions were used to calculate their descending resistance sets. And then in the descending resistance sets protocol, the first set was 85% of the 1RM with 30-second rest. And the second, third, and fourth descending resistance sets were calculated using the NSCA percent 1RM repetition relationship table. based on the repetitions completed in the constant resistance sets. And then the subject's new predicted 1RM was calculated for every set and used to find 85% of the predicted 1RM for each set. So a little example of what this might look like, the calculation. So let's just say someone has a 1RM of 100 pounds, and then 85% of that 100 pounds is 85 pounds. And over those 4 sets with 30-second rest, they completed 6 repetitions, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. So for the first one, it'd be 85% based on the table, and then 85% divided, or 85 pounds divided by 85% equals 100 pounds of the original 1RM. And then for the second set, they completed 3 repetitions, so 85 pounds divided by 93% equals 91.4 pounds for their new 1RM. And then 85% of 91.4 pounds equals about 80 pounds, which would be their new 85% 1RM. And then for set 3, they completed 2 repetitions, so 85 pounds divided by 95% equals their new 1RM of 89.5 pounds. And then 85% of 89.5 pounds equals 75 pounds, which is their new 85% 1RM. And then the last set, they only completed 1 rep. So 85% of 85 pounds equals 70 pounds. So for their descending resistance sets would be first set, 85 pounds, second set, 80 pounds, third set, 75 pounds, and fourth set, 70 pounds. And the statistical analysis we used, Statistica version 7.1, and we determined the difference between the average repetitions performed between each set and between each treatment group. A 2-way repeated measures ANOVA was used. Additionally, determined the difference between training volumes completed using constant resistance sets and descending resistance sets. A 1-way repeated measures ANOVA was used, and its statistical significance was accepted at an alpha level of p less than 0.05. So let's talk about the results of repetition sustainability. So the star means the p is less than 0.05, and it was significantly diverse between conditions. And then the hashtag is p less than 0.05, significantly different between the previous set. So CRS shows significant decreases between sets 1 through 3, but not 4. And DRS shows significant decreases between sets 1 and 2, but not 2 and 4. Also, between conditions, we can look at CRS shows no significant decrease between sets 1 compared to descending resistance sets, but significant decrease was shown between sets 2 through 4. And looking at the results of the training volume, the star shows p-value less than 0.05, values significantly different between conditions, and constant resistance sets shows significant decrease in total volume compared to descending resistance sets. So in discussion, the current study compared the difference between 2 different conditions, constant resistance sets and descending resistance sets, to find training volume and repetitions completed during high intensity 85% 1RM free weight back squat with a short rest period of 30 seconds. And we found the average number of repetitions completed was significantly greater for the descending resistance sets compared to the constant resistance sets for sets 2 through 4. And let's look at the load reduction that we found in our study compared to other studies. So previous studies, load reduction was 10 to 15%, and it caused sustainability of repetitions for free weight back squats. In the current study that we had, between the first and the second set, we dropped to 9%, and then between the second and the third, it was 2%, and between the third and the fourth set, it was 2% drop. So let's look at some limitations maybe of the NSCA percent 1RM repetition relationship table. It assumes a linear relationship, and other research maybe shows that it has a curvilinear relationship, and trained individuals can complete more repetitions than even the table suggests. Also, the table suggests over a single set and not multiple sets. And the current study shows the table overestimated repetitions compared to descending resistance sets. Also, another limitation may be training status, and it's shown in other studies that it's very important. Trained subjects sustained repetitions at a lower descending load compared to recreational trained subjects. In the current study, subjects had at least 2 years of resistance training, and subjects had an average ratio of 1 RM to body weight at 1.65. And other research compared bodybuilders to powerlifters, and bodybuilders completed more repetitions with short rest period due to their training style. So in conclusion, constant resistance sets repetitions decreased, and so did descending resistance sets repetitions decreased. But descending resistance sets had a greater repetition than constant resistance sets, and descending resistance had greater total training volume than constant resistance sets. So future research should consider using multiple descending resistance sets or further reduction based on the first descending resistance set results at 85% 1 RM with 30-second rest period to sustain repetitions through all 4 sets. However, greater than 85% 1 RM is one of the values that causes stress to produce testosterone, and descending resistance sets may fail to cause enough stress to these muscles. And then some practical application for our study could be important to improve the quality of resistance training and enhance training adaptations during strength training. And the study found that descending resistance sets caused increases in repetitions over multiple sets, leading to an increase in training volume. These increases in training volume with descending resistance sets may lead to increases in testosterone production. Are there any questions? My reference slide.